So Lauren, who has been in the industry for over 15 years, started her career out in South Carolina, moved to Birmingham with her husband. And so we met and really became fast friends and decided to come on with Somerset. So we worked together in our private wealth management group. During the day, we say we do that from 8 to 5. And then from 5 to 8, Lauren had this amazing idea to start the Wealth Edit, because our private practice is awesome. We love it. It is very niche-y. It is designed for a very specific client who needs a lot of hand holding or has really complex planning needs. And so what we were doing was we were meeting with women all the time, because there aren't that many women advisors in Birmingham, and they were coming to us and needing help. And so we would share with them all the different ways that they could plug into different groups and learn more about finances, but nobody was doing it. And what we realized was there was this huge gap between knowing you needed help and then actually jumping into investing or meeting with the attorney or starting a new business or all these things. So we're there's just this huge gap. And so what we decided to do was start the Wealth Edit, which is designed to serve that gap. And so hopefully, women will be able to come to the Wealth Edit. And if they've had a life event where they realize, oh my goodness, I don't know what I'm doing and I need help. Not only do I need practical information, I want community, but then also we serve young entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs, young and old, that, need the community, because we all know that oftentimes it's lonely to build a business and you want community and you want resources to say, how did, I have a shop that's selling something similar. How did you handle this? So just wanting that community. And we know that women learn best by hearing stories. So I might say, Mignon, I love that t-shirt. Where did you get it? I want one myself, and so that's how we talk, but that's also how we learn about money. And so what we've decided is we have Wealth Edit Wednesdays, and this is kind of where the idea came. Every Wednesday we feature somebody that we think is doing brave and interesting things, and we have several of our Wealth Edit Wednesday guests in the room, but we realized how much we learn from hearing other women's stories. And so tonight, that's what this is about. We're going to hear some really awesome stories. And what we hope is that just by hearing their stories, that you, one, know more about the people in your community, which helps connect people and for networking reasons. And then also to share what's possible. Sometimes we get in a rut and we think, I'm a stay-at-home mom and, I feel like a maid most days, which I've had that phase in my life. And to realize it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. But then also when the time is right, you can move forward. And so that's what we're so excited about tonight. Lauren's going to introduce and let her share a little bit about herself.
Yes. So we're it truly is like a dream, because this is what we had mapped out. And in 15 years of working with people and managing their wealth, every time I meet a woman, they would say the same thing to me. They'd say, oh, I don't know anything about money. And I was like, that's such a funny thing to say, because I'm a journalism major from Georgia. I'm I didn't know about anything about money either until I started doing this, and women are really quick studies. They're much better investors than men, generally speaking. We have really great investment behaviors once we dive in. And so I hated to see sort of that confidence gap with women. And so we aren't interested in where you invest or what you invest in. We just want to coach you up on how to have those conversations with whoever you're working with. So, because I think it's really important to know, because 90% of us are going to end up as the financial head of household. And that might mean that you're taking care of your mama, or it might mean that, you have to take a pause because you get divorced or widowed or whatever it might be. So, we're just really grateful that this many women want to talk about money for a little bit. And really our goal, our big, brave goal, is to become the premier networking place for women to network across the Southeast. So we have launched in New Orleans, which is not so secretly our favorite market, and Atlanta and Birmingham, and we're going to launch in Charleston in April. So we're just going to slowly move throughout the Southeast, but maybe you have a cupcake company and, someone in Charleston has a cupcake company too. And it's oh, how are you doing this? Or how are you pricing it? That's what we want to see. YPO is a similar model, but their minimums, you have to have so much revenue to be a part. It's just not very accessible So we hope to be an accessible place for women to network together across the Southeast. So that's our big, brave goal that we're sharing here tonight. And so we have been really blessed that so many women will share their story with us and share a little bit about how they've kind of forged ahead in business. And I do think it's a little bit like what Emily said. When I was building Somerset, it was so lonely. Like I was just so lonely. I didn't have anyone to talk to. And so I just kind of made my own network, but it was fairly awkward. And I really could have benefited from a group of women who I could ask, like, how are you putting this on your P&L? Or, hey, how do your household finances relate to your business finances, and how have you structured all that? So I would have loved to have had that space, which is part of why we created it. So anyway, thank you all so much for sharing your stories tonight. New Orleans is an amazing market filled with female business owners who have created really, really cool companies. So I'm just going to introduce y'all. A lot of y'all have met for the first time tonight because we've been in this strange time, but Aisha Matwani runs Sucre, and Emily Morrison runs Elysian, and Trish Bonsali runs Leica, right? Am I saying that right? Okay, so anyway, I want each of you to just share your story. I think that's a great place to start. So just kind of share how you built this. This is our own little mini version of how you built this. And so, and then we hope that some of y'all have questions or are willing to kind of share your own thing if you have things you want to share tonight. So anyway, we won't be too talk heavy because I know y'all want to meet with each other, but here I'm going to move the Zoom. This is so funny and awkward, but we're still sort of living in two worlds. Okay, there you go.
You want me to start?
Yeah, you
okay,
start.
I'll start. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you all so much for coming. I run Elysian, which is a company that we sell silk and silk velvet fabrics and patterns and all kinds of accessories from Istanbul, Turkey. And I was in finance for 15 years prior to starting this company. I worked in an investment bank here in New Orleans, and but I spent most of my time on Wall Street. I was in New York and Chicago and Toronto. I was traveling all the time. And like a lot of what Lauren said, but I think it was probably even, you know, the stereotypes were even more true for me. I mean, it was a lonely place. It was a very, you know, it was a man's world. It was an old boys club. And really the culture never actually ever changed. I mean, I had one woman that was in my same role in the 15 years that I was there. And, but I, you know, I figured out a way to make it work, and I got to the top of my game, and I was, you know, it was very successful. It was a great lifestyle. I was able to provide for my family, you know, help support my family. And it was not something that I really ever thought that I could walk away from, because it was such a great gig, despite some of the, you know, day-to-day feelings at my office. But I, you know, so I was never passionate about the job. It was a great job, but I was never super passionate. So, you know, my husband and I, we traveled a lot. We did a lot of travel, and we spent some time in Turkey. And when we were there, we had, you know, just these amazing experiences. And we were introduced to, you know, these patterns and fabrics and the history and the legacy of what is in that culture. And we just made amazing friendships and with the artisans and people that just felt like family. It was just sort of like meant to be. And you know, we did a lot of shopping. So we got, you know, we met all these people too. And, you know, while we were there, my husband said, you know, you just seem like really inspired, and, you know, you should bring some of this stuff home and sell it. And I was like, no, if this is like, no, I can't do that. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, there's no way I can do that. And he said, just do it. And I said, I can't do it. So that was like in May of 2019. And so I came home, and I thought about it. I kept talking about it. I kept saying I should do it. And my husband was finally like, I'm sick of like talking about this. You just got to do it. So this was November of 2019. And so I took a couple $1,000s, and I called my friend, Emily Walker, who has M's in Metairie. And I said, could I do a pop-up at your store? And she was like, sure. What are you doing? Sure. Come on. You know, and she, you know, and so I called my friends in Turkey, and I bought some things, and I had it shipped, and we did a pop-up, and we sold out in like, you know, in a day. You know, it was like crazy, and it was so exciting. It was so much fun. So I cold called Martha Claire, who owns Judy's at the Rink, and I said, I'd never met her before. I said, could I do a pop-up at your store next weekend? She said, sure. I mean, when I showed up, she was like, what do you mean you don't have a business and you're not here? But you know, we had the best time, and the same thing happened. Like, there was just this amazing energy, and I was like, you know, so excited about it. And so I called my mother-in-law, and I said, will you go to Turkey with me? Or this is like December the 20th. So you go to Turkey with me over New Year's. So we booked a ticket and we flew to Turkey and we bought products and we designed products. And I came home and I'm still working. And I did a pop-up at Luca with Catherine arranged for us. And then it's the same thing. It was amazing. And then unexpectedly, my office, the New Orleans office of my company, they're owned by Toronto Bank, we were shut down. And so, you know, I didn't know what was going to happen. I mean, I had this great passion project that I thought, you know, something might come of it, but I wasn't running a business at the time. And I joined social media the day I did the pop-up. So December the 11th, 2019, I had no background in Instagram, marketing, fashion. I'd never held a retail job before. I mean, my whole life, I got my JD MBA and I'd gone to do this finance job. I knew nothing about it. And I just sort of felt though, like the universe was telling me, like, I could have never walked away from my job. I just sort of felt like, this is it. Like, I should do this. And so, I rented a place on Magazine and we had a pop-up during Mardi Gras, and it was really fun. It was like during the parades. It was 2 weeks long, and next to my husband's office. And then we went away for Mardi Gras break, and then COVID hit, right? So I thought, wow, I don't know what I'm going to do. You know, this is crazy. I don't have I don't know what I'm going to do. And I had read this book the year before by Julia Cameron called The Artist's Way, and which is an amazing book. If any of you are, if you've read it, or it's really a workshop book, but, and she begins it by saying, leap and the net will appear. And that was really my motto for last year, was just, you know, just do it and you'll figure it out. You don't know what's going to happen, you know, and I've never lived my life this way. I was always like, this is my goal. This is where it's going to be. And, so I built my website during COVID, and then my husband and I have 8-year-old triplets. We rented a church van, and we did rely on the power of women. I went to UVA undergrad, and I basically called all my friends that lived across the Southeast, and we literally went from like city to city up and down the Southeast doing trunk shows. And we were really lucky. Like it was COVID had hit, but you know, if you remember, like, you know, one town would have it, the next town hadn't had it yet. It's like we kept hitting these towns before they like knew anybody that had had COVID yet. It's like we laughed, and all of a sudden everybody's got COVID. So it was really, it just kind of worked out, and it was amazing because it was COVID. So like no matter what, people were not like really going out, so they were so excited, and it was just like this amazing, you know, excitement everywhere we went, and people were super passionate for what we were selling, and then they were really passionate about what I was doing, and they were like excited for me, and they were so supportive, and so they were calling all their friends. And so we did this all summer, and then we went out west and did it, and at some stores, and we came home, we put the kids in school, and then we went back to Texas in September. But while this was all going on, I was realizing, like, you know, we built our website, we had this e-commerce business, we were doing the pop-ups, but I said, you know, this is stuff that people really want to see and touch and feel and try on and experience. And so we took advantage of the COVID situation, and we did a short-term lease on Magazine Street for 3 months. We were going to do a pop-up, and so we're on Magazine, and it was amazing. And it was just like, you know, it was way greater than what we would have expected. And we realized that we're supposed to have a footprint in New Orleans, and that we're going to keep the retail store. And, you know, I've just been, I had no idea where this journey would lead me. And it's really happened because I wasn't committed to one pathway. I've just really pivoted along the way. And it's happened because of women supporting me. I mean, the reason I know Lauren is because a mutual friend of ours hosted a trunk show for me. They put me in touch with Lauren. I called Lauren to see if she'd do a trunk show for me. And I said, I'm happy to host you. And then we've become friends over the last several months. So, you know, it's amazing what these kind of networking experiences have been. But that's sort of the backstory.
And this is Emily's beautiful home. So we are so grateful for her. Thank you so much.
We're so glad you're here.
So, okay, let's go.
I'll go next. I went to law school. I worked as a personal injury attorney for about 4 years. Again, a very misogynistic, sexist work environment. I actually lost my job when I was pregnant at home. I had a baby that was 8 weeks early. I qualified under the FMLA for like an extra 4 weeks to stay home, and I was still working every day because we worked on commission. So I worked every day, but they said no, and then had terminated my job. So I just kind of took that and ended up staying home with my kids. And then I had 3 more kids later, and I just became a stay-at-home mom. It was great. And then this sort of just popped up during COVID. I felt like we were with our families all the time, and I found this like emptiness of like a fun place to go with my kids that was not a restaurant where I would have to commit to 2 hours of bored spine on the ground and crying and everything else, but just a fun place where my kids could have something sweet to eat, and then I could enjoy a nice latte while it's still hot. And it was sort of a whirlwind. I guess we just made a phone call to the old owner. And within weeks, we were just like on this, like, you know, tumble salt of rolling hills of trying to get open for Christmas time. It was really a whirlwind, but I have to say that without constantly brainstorming and picking people's brains and, you know, bouncing ideas off of all of my friends and other colleagues in the city, I don't know if I would have been able to do it. You know, we hired the old owner as like a consultant to help us. We really wanted to learn what his mistakes were, why did they go bankrupt, make sure that we took what worked and what didn't work to build something that was better, more constructive. You know, it was really important to me to have, I felt like customer service was so important to me. I just didn't want anyone to be, not have a job because you had a tattoo, or, you know, had given evil looks because your kid, you know, spilled ice cream all over the floor. Like, I wanted everyone to feel super included and welcomed. And, you know, even if you go in and you have a bad experience, if my staff was so nice to you, that's all I care about. So, you know, the response has been really amazing. Like, we've just kind of not really expected it. And we're just working on our second store. You know, people really want us to expand and start shipping. It's just nonstop. It's crazy. I don't cook dinner every night anymore. Sometimes I order it. But it's great. You know, we have our chef is female. It was such a misogynistic place also before. You know, everybody knows the sexual harassment claims. Now we have almost too many women working there. So it's a lot of like emotions, and sometimes people cry after a confrontation, but we're all working around each other, but we're also still very friendly and supportive of each other. So it's like a fun place to hang out, but also get shit done. So.
Thank you for sharing. All right, Trish. We were so hoping to be in Leica Clothing tonight, but we're going to be in it tomorrow, which we're so excited. We're bringing some home with us.
Krista's in some Leica over there.
It's so pretty. I love it.
Well, just before I start, I just something that I wanted to bring up was I feel like Leica is very similar in a lot of ways to both of y'all's businesses, because we're kind of, one of the reasons why we find our success is because of the power of community here in New Orleans, which is something Artemis and I were actually talking about before we started. It's just, this is a really very strong place to start a business, because people really believe in the city and what we have to offer, and making sure that everyone does get the resources and spirit that they need if they want it. So that was just something that I was kind of thinking about as y'all were talking. But yeah, so I have Leica, which is a company I started about 3 years ago now, which is crazy. But my background was, I was in luxury retail in New York for 10 years. I was a buyer, and at the end of that decade, I was working for a company that really emphasized sustainability and minimizing your footprint on the goods that were brought in, and, you know, sourcing good woods and naturally dyed things. So I kind of, a lot of the vendors I was working with were from India, and it kind of got me thinking, you know, I'm from India, or I'm from New Orleans, but, you know, my family is in India, and I didn't really feel a strong connection So I really wanted to kind of,
I don't know.
I really wanted to kind of find out more about, you know, my history, my family history.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, this is stop. Okay. It's only one in the house. Back there. Sorry.
So I coupled, you know, my desire to, first of all, move back to New Orleans, which was kind of like pulling at my heartstrings, but also a desire to get more connected to where I'm from, and, you know, the legacy that was kind of built for me over there. I really wanted to bring those two worlds together and do something that ultimately felt more fulfilling for me. And so I quit my job. I went over there for like a discovery trip. And at the time I met this woman who worked with a Widowed Women's Collective that there were weavers that like were in North Punjab, and they were just a group of women that were, you know, everyone had lost their spouses and kind of banded together. And I loved that story, and I loved what they were doing. And I have a size 4 foot. So I was like, can y'all make shoes for me? And they started making shoes for me. I mean, they like made a sample, and I was like, this is great. I asked for, you know, 200 pairs of them, brought them to New Orleans, and people really liked them. I had a store in Austin actually like ask for them because they were seeing them on Instagram, and it just kind of spiraled. And at the core of that was this feeling of like, well, I purchased all of this from this community, and, you know, if I can keep doing this, you know, not only am I doing something that's supporting myself, but I'm also impacting the lives of a lot of women that I think could really, you know, use it. And so that kind of laid the foundation for what I just kind of started doing. And now on year 3, we've had such amazing group of women that have kind of stood as our backbone and have been advocates for the brand. And I think that slowly over time, I mean, I remember calling Aisha like 3 years ago and being like, you want to go get coffee? Because like, I just kind of feel like I want to find women that I can kind of connect with that and talk to that, you know, might offer a different point of view and help me, you know, with where I'm going and how I can grow, and personally and, you know, professionally. So yeah, I mean, that's the core of Leica. And, you know, we've really found such an amazing support system from women in Charleston and women in Austin and women in Brooklyn. And, you know, we've done little pop-ups here and there, but it's an online based business. So it is hard to kind of feel that connectivity and that sense of community online. So through pop-ups and through actually like trying to tell stories and, you know, kind of show the process, we've sort of tried to start building that sense. And I think that it shines through. So yeah, I mean, that's it.
That's awesome. What a great story. And I love that you reached out and kind of networked yourself with Aisha, and I'm sure others. That's pretty great. I mean, that's kind of what you need.
Yeah, I think it speaks to, you know, the power of finding people that can offer different perspectives.
Yes.
You know, I didn't know anything about starting a business. I knew about, you know, buying, and I knew about design a little bit, and a little bit about product development, but there were so many gaps in that. So yeah.
That's so cool. And Aisha, tell me, just from what you said in your story, and thank you for sharing, tell me about how you built a team, like rebuilt a team, you know. I would love to know more about that.
I guess the first thing was that we really needed a chef. We hired our chef. She had worked at Sucre before, so she had a little bit of experience, and then she moved on to the Ritz, and we approached her and we were like, we can't do this without you. So we're not even going to go forward unless we have you. And she became our #1 team member, you know. And from that you know, it's kind of hard to relinquish all of your control, but then you still really need her, but you don't want to, you know, put all your eggs in one basket. So it's a balance, and it's a personality. You know, what I've learned the most is that managing a business is managing a lot of different personalities. So, you know, once I kind of learned hers, now we're friends and we work so well together. And that, you know, we bounce ideas off of each other. We bounce, you know, we talk about our manager, like what she should be like. And then we built a team based on that. So
good. And tell me, Emily, what you would have done, you know, maybe differently, or what piece of advice you'd have for a woman who wanted to start a business and really switch careers.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think like what you were saying, Trish, like, I mean, about asking around. I mean, I remember thinking like everything I've ever done, there was like, you know, you want to be a lawyer, you go to law school, you want to be a doctor, you go to medical school. Like, where's the roadmap? Like, why is there no roadmap for this? And I think like, that's one thing, if you want to start a business, that you have to realize that like, you sort of have to make your own roadmap. And I think you sort of have to say like, what do you want it to be? And you really, I mean, you know, being an entrepreneur means really you're in charge, and, you know, you have to make all the decisions. And I think, you know, I just think it like, I mean, Kristen and I've talked a lot about this. There's just so many things to do and you're never finished. Like the job is never done. And so, you know, I guess that I'm glad that I did talk to more women, but I honestly, to talk to a lot of women, and they were so supportive, but I honestly, this kind of thing is so helpful for me to be connected with more business owners, to know, like, there's just so many things that like if somebody else can pass on a piece of advice, it could be a game changer for you.
Yes, I totally agree with that. Well, okay. So this is, we find this in every city that we go to, that you know these women, you've, you know, purchased things from them, you've tried their products, but you don't know the story behind the story. So hopefully y'all know a little bit more about our friends here tonight. So since we have them here, do y'all have any questions for them? Anyone specifically? Put you on the spot. Oh, great. Okay.
Mine's for Trish. I thought that was so cool that basically the women in, you said it was in North Punjab province, they all got together and kind of were like, what are we going to do? We all have this in common, network. And then meeting them, it's sort of like a great cycle. Like if we got that, what do they think about like everything that's happening, and what is that relationship like now? And
yeah, so I actually have several partners now in India, and all of them are either female owned or groups of women in rural Rajasthan. Actually I have one in Rajasthan, one in Madhya Pradesh, and one in Punjab. And you know, they have been able to do amazing work because of me and additional partners. So it's not just, I'm not their only partner. You know, we've built a girls' school together. We've put wells in some of the villages, so now they don't have to walk, you know, 10 kilometers to get water. You know, there are certain impacts that we've had that have benefited not only the workshops and not only the artisans, but the communities at large. So I think that, you know, they would all say that that's a pretty positive thing.
Right.
But, yeah.
I guess
they get very excited too, because I share, you know, for instance, like I had this jacket in white and someone posted it and I sent the picture to them, and they, like, you know, one of the groups, like Reese Witherspoon, posted a bunch of photos of the dresses that one of the groups had made, and they like lost it, you know. And, you know, like it's all like very exciting for them to see like women in the West wear, you know, handloom textiles and things that they've actually made. And so it's like what's especially cool for me is to see like this whole community, like this, like, okay, we're selling clothes to women here, and then they're finding this like fulfillment or inner fulfillment about wearing something that's created, that's impacting lives over there. And they're getting so psyched about everything that's going on over here, and, you know, everything that's going on, you know, infrastructure wise over there. So it's just a really cool like family that I feel like I'm in the middle of, that I feel very, very grateful for.
That's, I guess I'm like, do you think you'll ever, I don't even know what I would imagine, but like, ever in the future try to like marry those two worlds and have an opportunity for like clients or, you know, distributors, I mean, have an experience, be able to go see those schools or be a part of meeting, I think it's so amazing. So I'm like, I bet.
Yeah, I would love that. I mean, several people have actually asked me, like, if you next time you go to India, like, could I bounce with you and like go for a few days? And I'm like,
a lot of people.
You know, I mean, for me, you know, it's like Lauren was saying, it's a very lonely road to be, you know, the sole owner and now I'm not the sole member of my business anymore, but you know, being the sole member of your business. So I'm like, come one, come all, let's all go to India, come help. Like, you know, we'll go here, we'll go there, we'll go find fabrics. Like, you know, I think that the more the merrier. And I just want like people to feel like they're involved, and, you know, that's kind of, I love that part, but it's also to my detriment. I focus a lot on the community aspect and the people element of my business, and maybe not so much on the financial, because all that stuff feels so good. So yeah, come whenever you want.
I'm gonna come.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions?
I just wandered in the door. I was like, come on, get. I got kicked out.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, as we've heard from all these amazing women and these stories, I mean, like how important community is. And that's really what we hope everybody got from tonight. I mean, we had a first event and I had somebody, you know, ask a question about like what is the wealth edit? Like why, you know, and you always want to just that one thing. And really what it is a place to build community amongst women, because we all have different needs. But ultimately we love community, whether that's being a stay-at-home mom or starting our own business or being a doctor or whatever it is. We love community and we really all thrive in community. So anyway, so thank y'all so much for sharing your story. The Wealth Edit, y'all can find us at wealthedit.com. We are a monthly membership or annual membership. And we have all sorts of events. We have a lot of interviews of women. We have one every Wednesday. We also teach courses. This week we just started our second round of this, was called Financial Minimalism, where we dig into what we're spending and why we're spending. We're not necessarily a big budgeting place. I mean, there's a place for that, and we talk about different ways to do so, but really it's more about like how much are we spending and why, and kind of digging into maybe the more emotional components of it, but then like practically, okay, how do we figure out how our spending then factors into the rest of our financial picture. And so that's really fun. Most of our courses are done via Zoom, and it has a community feel just like this, where you can ask questions and you hear somebody talk, and you're able to like get real feedback. But again, another hope is through those courses that you're also meeting different people and you're making connections, and there's a way to like connect offline, and you learn that somebody else is in a similar industry and then you can connect with them. We just had an entrepreneurship 101 taught by y'all's Krista Cotton, she did a wonderful job. It was so well received. People are asking for the recordings all the time. And I mean, we have so many different things coming up. So we touch on everything from really digging into the difference between a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA, to building your own business, to balancing parenting and working. So we try to have just a really wide range of offerings. We also offer office hours, which is probably my favorite thing. We get to talk to different women who call all week with really interesting questions. But it also gives Lauren and I a chance to meet everybody and hear like, why you joined. What do you want to get out of this, and how can we help? So we like to connect. That's one of the things that we've done naturally our whole lives. And so we love to say, oh, you've got to meet, you know, so and so. So we love to.
And we connected a gallery owner here with an artist in Atlanta. So yeah. we do, once we know like what you need, then we try to strategically help you make those connections across the Southeast.
Yeah. So, and then hopefully we'll have more and more pop-up events, and we really want to do like conferences and all that, but we're just kind of just waiting until the time is right. But we're really excited about all that's to come, and we would love to have y'all join us.
We really would. And some women join because they need some help in some way, shape, or form, and some women join because they can help and they just love the mission. So, you know, whatever reason why you would join, we hope that you do join us. And if any of you, I know we have some members in the room, if you're willing to share your story, I don't mean to be like so awkward, but it would be so great if someone just explain, because sometimes when we're talking about it, I'm like, are we even saying this right? So
you're staring at me.
Okay.
So I just taught Entrepreneur 101 for Wealth Edit, but I own El Guapo here in town, and I am a mom. I have a 2-year-old. She's psychotic, but I love her very much. But my business tripled in the pandemic because I've changed my business, which I'm incredibly proud of, but we're still on track to triple this year. So doing that twice in a row with a 2-year-old, no family within 500 miles, and really really dealing with life and the pandemic, it was very stressful. And I felt like I needed an outlet to just meet more women and have just a place to answer or to ask questions, especially in the financial side of things, because I'm starting to talk about things like VC capital and raising things that I'm not as familiar with. So that's sort of what brought me to the Wealth Edit. And then teaching the class was really helpful. They introduced me to Emily, which is great. I'm wearing a Lecca dress because I'm friends with Trisha's older brother and her sister-in-law. I am talking over here about rice pudding. Like it's a very small circle. This is my friend Lauren. We're going through the Idea Village Accelerator right now. I dragged her here for businesses Lafayette. So it's like a nice way to connect people that are local, but then also meeting people from other cities. So when I taught Entrepreneurship 101, it was business owners that were just starting out. We had someone from San Francisco. We had a lot of people from Birmingham, but it's really not just tied to one city, but all over. And it's a really great way to build community, just like I was saying. But it's fun to help. It's fun to listen. And it's also just a great place to learn something. The Wealth Edit series is really great. So if you are a member, I recommend tuning in. I'm trying to get Lauren to do one right now to talk about our business. But it's really great, so I recommend it. That's all I got.
So have fun. You can come see us if you have questions about it. We do hope everybody joins. We want it to be just like this. And there's cool women just like you all over the Southeast. And if we can connect you and we can all learn a little bit more about wealth building, then we'll feel like we've done our job. So thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate the support from New Orleans. So thank you.